Okay, here we go again, and here's my playing music. Boy, we've got a lot of stuff to get to today, so without further ado, here we go. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Okay, this is the Midnight Skeptic Show number 115, if you can believe that. This is going to be broadcast on kpca.fm worldwide via Spotify this Sunday, the 9th, at 9 p.m. locally on 103.3 FM throughout the southern Sonoma County. Okay, and I'm recording this on Tuesday, and it's the 4th, and right now it's about 10 minutes to 5 o'clock, and, it's so good to be woke, it's good to be woke, it's so good to be woke in the morning. Yes, the Midnight Skeptic is now, and as it turns out, always has been, woke. And now he is striving in his own small way, meaning this show, to rid this country of all GOP MAGA head Republicans, one broadcast at a time. When you vote out Republicans, whenever the next election comes around, you are voting out hate, fear, ignorance, and illogic. The country will thank you for it. Okay. Shout outs. Spotify and Anchor, my international people. There's about a dozen of you out there listening in with bated breath. Okay. Rob Tomaszewski, the station manager at KPCA 103.3 FM. I keep forgetting to mention him, but he's down there. He's a good guy. He keeps all of KPCA programmers together and happy. Okay, Mickey Huff of Project Censored, John Crowley of the Aquas Cafe, and Tom Gaffey of the Phoenix Theater, where the hangout for alternative teens and their skateboards and their problems seem to hang out, and it's a good music venue as well. Locally, Nariman and Art Kuznets. Up in Reno, a couple of newbies. I think they've been listening all along for the last couple of years, but I just found out that my cousin Chanda and her son Michael, who's a lawyer up in Reno there, listen in occasionally. In Katati, Kevin and Lori. In Sacramento, Dave and Rosie Takach. Tom and Nancy, Keith and Cody. In Sebastopol, Rich and Kelly and Tiburon, Dennis and Megan. San Francisco, Yvonne, Santos, and Rick. And down in Pacifica, Stan and Kathy. And I finally looked it up. Susan Miller, the lefty of all lefties down in Pacifica. I hope you listen in more than just occasionally as well. Okay, Pacifica Standard, Kathy. Okay, got that. L.A., Jackie Kolar and her two daughters, Melanie and Samantha, who is a teacher down there. And the little ones thank her mightily for her teaching efforts. Arizona, my brother Brandon and his wife Mina, their daughter Andrea, my niece, who's a nurse down there. Take care of yourself, Andrea, and Tim and the three little boys. And I keep forgetting to mention Karina Hilliard, too, in Patagonia, Arizona, the snake lady, the snake removal lady, animal control officer. Okay, Arkansas, Shannon Reed, down to Florida, Amelia Beamer, and Nelson and Alice, and up to the Raleigh-Durham area, Dr. Dave Rubin, the lung doctor, and Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger, and back here in California, up to Sonora, California, Robert and Colleen Finnegan and Bob and Sandy Fisher, and their daughter Martha, who's a nurse. Take care of yourself, Martha, and Brad. And, Judy and Leonidas and Darrell Larson and Lynn Quayle. I'm doing this without notes. And Kathy Francis and John Gleason and his two daughters, Tiffany and Jennifer, and down to Mexico City, Rosamalia Lopez Negrete. Okay, let's get on with this show because there really is a lot of things to get to. And no, I'm not going to talk about the orange sociopathic bloat bag and his travails in New York City. I'm not going to waste my time on that turd. Okay. Good news. I'm going to start it off. Sort of good news, I guess. Historical good news. The 50th anniversary of the first wireless cell phone call, April 3rd, 1973, by Martin Cooper. He worked for Motorola. The phone was brick-sized, a large brick back then. It's come down in both size and cost. His call was to a friend of his, another engineer, in Bell Labs. Now, that was the engineering end of AT&T, Bell telephone systems. Okay. And it cost, one of those phones at that time, the model 8000X, cost a little less than $4,000. And the size of them dictated that they would be called car phones at that time. Okay, they had about 1 hour of battery life, and they had to be recharged for about 10 hours to get them up to speed again. Okay, and in 1976, the first home video cassette recorder was sold. And the early video cassettes could only hold about an hour of programming back then. Well, that was the first of the video rental stores. By 1980, that was home entertainment. Okay, and a lot of it was used for pornography back in those days. Okay, bad news, new topic, bad news. How the gun industry and the NRA marketed the AR-15. The NRA founded its case for the AR-15 and other military-styled rifles, not on home protection or some new sport, but on overt bigotry. Boy, my handwriting. Oh, it looked like Maoism to me in my notes, but it's racism and paranoia. Gun magazines and the NRA, especially their douche CEO Wayne LaPierre, targeted ads at a new kind of gun owner who needed to defend his home, not against burglars so much, but against organized terrorist attacks in the neighborhood. Urban looters after a natural disaster, or Worse, race riots is what they were afraid of. And they were afraid of the U.S. government itself. That's why the gun nuts bought all of these guns and established home, what's the word I'm looking for? Magazines and gun museums. Okay. Each of the scenarios was presented to gun owners as a reason that a mere handgun or hunting rifle could no longer be called adequate self-defense. In order that these three scenarios were, number one, and this is chronological, the 9/11 attacks that created a new market for jingoistic military-themed pseudo-patriotism. The far-right militia group's membership really took off after 9/11. Okay, the next thing, chronologically, was Hurricane Katrina, 8/29 of 2005, and its images of widespread devastation and desperate New Orleans residents, quote unquote, looting necessities from damaged stores, that launched widespread, very white paranoia about their own neighbors asking them for help during a natural disaster. Sip time, orange juice. And what was the third thing that moved a lot of these white paranoias and militia groups? The election of the first Black American president in 2008. That sent a very particular subset of the public into spasms of panic about what might happen if their mostly white government was slipping away from them. The 2008 economic crisis at this same time and political upheaval bolstered the AR-15 market's appeal. Conservative GOP Republicans portrayed Barack Obama as an anti-gun radical. They always drop this term radical when they're talking about Democrats in general, liberals in general, progressives in general. We're all radical. Okay, as an anti-gun radical, they're coming to take them away. They're coming to take them away. Ha ha, ho ho, hee hee. That actually was a variant of a song that was popular briefly back in the early 2000s, except the word was, they're coming to take me away. They're coming to take me away. Ha ha, ho ho, hee hee, to the funny farm. Okay, enough of that. Never has any Democratic politician advocated for taking guns away from gun owners, despite Fox News and MAGA heads spreading fear amongst the base. Okay, what progressive people want is for guns to be registered, background checks, limitations on the magazines in the assault rifles, things that of course, won't prevent every mass shooting anywhere, but they will keep it down to reasonable levels. And that's a sad thing that I have to say. Okay? Incidentally, and I'll mention this again later on in the show, there is a walkout, a student walkout tomorrow, Wednesday, April 5th, sponsored by Students Demand Action, which is modeled after Moms Demand Action, which is a gun regulatory outfit that was started, I think, right after Sandy Hook. But this Students Demand Action was founded in 2016 by some of the survivors of the Marjorie Stoneman student massacre. Okay, anyway, I'll mention that again later. Okay, where am I? I don't want to lose my place here. There really is a lot to get to here. Okay, bad orange sociopathic bloat bag news. He and MAGA heads who worship him are racists, and that is most of you Republicans. In 1989, he took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the death penalty for the Central Park Five. And he didn't mention them by name, but everybody knew who he was talking about. More police, bring back the death penalty, blah, blah, blah. And the Central Park Five were exonerated, both by a confession of the guy who did it and DNA evidence. And they are innocent and didn't commit this crime against this white female jogger in Central Park. Okay, but will the orange sociopathic bloat bag ever apologize? Not on your life. Okay. He hasn't and never will apologize for that. The Central Park Five were wrongly convicted of an assault on a white female jogger in 1989. All were exonerated in 2002. There is now a Netflix series called When They See Us, unquote. And what has the orange sociopathic bloat bag said about this? They admitted their guilt, and he considers them guilty. They must be guilty of something. They're 5 minority kids, black kids. One of them was Hispanic. And admitting their guilt after New York police officers were browbeating them and denying them rest and sleep, and interrogating them like an army interrogator interrogates a Arab terrorist. They didn't do waterboarding, but New York detectives can extract confessions about anything from anyone, from the killing of Cock Robin to the assassination of JFK. They can get it out of you. But the orange sociopathic bloat bag is a racist. And he and his dad, who were running the Trump Organization back in 1973, got into legal trouble because they wouldn't rent some of their apartment rooms to blacks. Trump is a racist, and MAGA heads that worship him are racists. I'll say it again. GOP MAGA head Republicans are racists. Okay, and off of that. Oh, no, I'm not quite off of that. Okay, the New York City settlement for the Central Park 5 was $41 million for anywhere from 8 to 12 years out of their lives. Okay, the Orange Sociopathic Bloat Bag says that the settlement was a disgrace, his words. Okay, and those Central Park 5 were the guys who started off the urban fear of teenage wilders. Wilding was something that minorities did to white people. And of course, Republicans spread the fear. The youngest of the Central Park 5 was 15. Now, if a New York City police detective is standing over you and you're a 15-year-old kid and he demands that you confess, most likely you're going to confess. But that has no effect on the orange, ignorant, sociopathic bloat bag. Okay, enough of that. Okay, bad news in higher education. Hillsdale College, which I term a small 1,600 student Christian classical liberal arts college founded in 1844 in Hillsdale, Michigan. It is a non-sectarian, except they're all evangelicals. And they're really, what they are is a training ground for Christian terrorists. So you can call them a madrasa if you want to. I want to. Okay. Let's see. I'm off my notes. Founded in 1844, Hillsdale, Michigan, which is right near the Indiana border. Students are 28% from Michigan, 72% outside Michigan, including 12 foreign countries. You'd think that those students from the foreign countries would be smarter than that, than to come to a Christian college here in the United States. All right. The Hillsdale position on climate change is that the science is controversial and not settled. They question the preconceived conclusions of climate scientists. They mock efforts to reduce CO2. They call it the green utopia in one of their handouts that I saw online currently. It's not something from a long time ago. Also, intelligent design, meaning everything, the earth, people, animals, the stars and the sun, were God's creation. Okay, intelligent design, or ID, should be taught in biology classes in public schools. Oh, my God. Darwin is, quote unquote, debatable. The details of Darwin's theories, yes, can be debated if you have some evidence or some measurements or physical evidence about something. You can debate the details, but the big picture is not debatable. dare I say this for the world to hear? There is no God. Okay, all right. If I get hate mail for that, I think I forgot to mention where you send hate mail and death threats and also constructive criticisms to the Midnight Skeptic at gmail.com. All lowercase, all smushed together in one thing. I'll get it and I'll deal with it. Okay, where am I? Intelligent design. Okay, Darwin is debatable. This is something from their the little brochure that I read. The science evidence supports Darwinism as a probable truth, in quotes, probable truth, not settled. As far as gender dysphoria goes, Hillsdale goes along with anti-trans writer Abigail Shrier, capital Shrier. And she terms it the transgender craze. What a creep she is. Okay, I've read some of her stuff, not cover to cover, books that she's written, but she is a witch. And the B word version of witch also. And her main book is Irreversible Damage. While we're discussing Hillsdale, their chaplain sent out a prayer request to all the students there at Hillsdale, praying against the evil same-sex marriage debate that was going on in the Supreme Court. This was back in 2015. Obergefell versus... I forget who it was versus, but same-sex marriage won back in 2015. They just call it the Obergefell decision. Okay. Now, I don't know whether the Supreme Court would vote to overturn the laws against same-sex marriage. Okay. I labeled this note, ridiculously bad news from MAGA land. First grade students at Heyer, Heyer, elementary school, it's in Milwaukee, not near Milwaukee, it's in Waukesha, Wisconsin, had their rendition of the song Rainbow Land banned at their concert. We're talking first graders, because parents in the district, and there's just a few parents, said the song encourages LGBTQ acceptance. Republicans don't want acceptance. They want hate. And it references rainbows, which everybody knows that Republicans hate. Okay, there's a lot to get to, so I'm going to try to speed things up a little bit and hit my time mark for a change. Okay, MAGA, GOP banning rainbows continued. Superintendent James Siebert, capital S-E-B-E-R-T, said that the administrators always sloughing off blame on somebody else. Yeah. He said that the administrators had removed Miley Cyrus's song Rainbow Land, which was a duet with Dolly Parton, because it might not be appropriate uh, for the age and maturity level of the students. He also cited a school board policy against raising controversial issues in classrooms. Siebert has previously prohibited rainbows and pride flags from being displayed. I'm sorry for the delay here. That's my doctor calling me after discussing some findings with a co-medical personnel. Okay. First grade teacher, and we're still talking about the Hayer Elementary School. First grade teacher Melissa Timpel, Tempel, said she chose the song because its message seemed universal and sweet. Republicans don't like sweet. They like hate and fear. The class concert's theme was the world. Is that globalism? And included other songs such as Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles and What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. This isn't a wonderful world. There's non-Christians in it. Okay. Quote, my students were just devastated. They really liked the song and had already begun singing it. Teacher Timpel said on Monday, 3/27, administrators also initially banned the song Rainbow Connection from the Muppets. Can you believe this? But later reversed the decision, according to Temple. Do you people out there wonder why I am so down on Republicans and MAGA heads who just cruelty and meanness is the whole point of being a Republican nowadays? I don't care what objections my few Republican and friends and relatives say. The way the Republican Party is nowadays is a Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert. They are the faces of the Republican Party nowadays. It's declined in thoughtfulness, thinking at all. Okay. New topic. Bad climate MAGA news. And this is college level. The quote, Ohio. I'm sorry. I need a sip of orange juice to lubricate. The Ohio Higher Education Enhancement Act. It's not enhancement. Senate Bill 83 was introduced by Jerry Cirino, capital Cirino, and other GOP MAGA head conservatives who are bought and paid for by the fossil fuel industry. Instructors, we're talking college, would be banned from teaching controversial subjects. Excuse me. Okay. colleges would not, and this is another quote, seek to inculcate. I didn't know Republicans knew a word like that. Would not seek to inculcate any social, political, or religious point of view, unquote, on students, period. Higher education institutions would also be barred from implementing sustainability initiatives. So colleges in Ohio would be barred from recycling, having rooftop solar panels, putting their yard waste and tree trimmings into a, oh God, I'm having a brain freeze on the word, and food scraps. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay. I'm off my notes. Higher ed institutions would be barred from implementing sustainability initiatives, diversity or equity programs. I think the word green sends MAGA head Republicans into paroxysms of anxiety. Well, if it does, then good. All right, bad news. Here in California, Assembly Bill 1314, introduced on the 14th of last month, would require school districts to, and this is going nowhere, believe me, but it was introduced by a Republican. Okay. It would, AB 1314 would require school districts to notify parents in writing within 3 days after learning that a student is identifying as a gender that doesn't align with official records or their birth certificates. And it was introduced by Bill Essalier. Okay, I'll spell that for you. He's from Riverside, a Republican. Okay, Bill, capital Essayli. Vote him out, people from Riverside. Get rid of him. And he announced this Assembly Bill 1314 in front of the Jurupa Valley High School, capital Jurupa, Valley High School. Bill 1314 outs transgender kids to their parents. Jessica Tapia, capital Tapia, a teacher at JVH, was fired for violating a California law that bars educators from disclosing students' gender to parents. And that has been a law here in California since 2014. It was originally Assembly Bill 1266. Students have rights to privacy. She cites, okay, this is Jessica Tapia, and she's a PE teacher down at Jurupa Valley High School. She cites her Christian beliefs to live the way the Lord has called me to live. And this is she going on. I realized I couldn't be a Christian and a teacher. Well, I would be all in favor of that. Get rid of all Christian fundamentalist evangelical teachers. We don't need them. what we need is better teaching and better teachers. Okay, and then this is something else she said. As a PE teacher, Tapia also refused to allow male genitals, these are her words, in the girls' locker room. She is so damned ignorant of what being transgender really is. Quote from Tapia again, "I believe firmly that God created man and woman, and you are who he made you to be. And when someone has confusion about that," meaning gender dysphoria, "I believe that it is lies and confusion from the devil." California schools do not need teachers who actually believe in the real existence of the devil. Oh, Jesus. Fire her. She's suing the school district for firing her, by the way. Off my notes. I believe that it is lies and confusion from the devil. And she said all this on Fox News. She's an evangelical MAGA head. Okay, this is some general information about transgender kids. Okay, the American Academy of Pediatrics, what do they know? They aren't Republicans. The American Academy of Pediatrics on July 13th, 2022, gender identity 5 years after social transition is usually persistent. Okay, and this is an article. Okay, I'm sorry. This is the title of a paper published in the American Academy of Pediatrics, Gender Identity 5 Years After Social Transition. And it was by Christina R. Olson, a PhD, and other of her researchers. It's in volume 150, number 2, August of 2022. It's where the issue that this paper appeared. Retransition, detransition, or desistance. Okay. There is a small percentage of young kids who have socially transitioned, or in some cases be given hormonal treatment or puberty blockers, who at some point in their maturing process decided that they want to not be trans kids anymore. It's a small percentage. Okay, I'm off my notes again. Damn. Okay, about 7% of transitioned youth had retransitioned at least once. At the end of this period, most youth identified it as binary trans youth. In other words, identify as female when they were born male, or identify as male when they were born female. That's being binary, whether or not you identify as male or female. 94% of the trans youth maintain their binary identity. In other words, if they transition to female from being a boy, they maintain it into their Youth, their teen years, their adolescence. Okay. Another 1.3% who retransitioned to another identity before returning to their binary transgender ID. Okay. Research finds that the age of retransitioning occurs from, on average, from 10 years old to 13 years old. Those are the key times for settling on your gender identity. Okay. Their identity may be more stable after this period for youth of early, meaning before age 6, gender nonconformity. Okay. There's all sorts of misinformation foisted on everybody from the MAGA head GOP Republicans, cherry-picked statistics, etc., etc. Okay. This is bad news, historical bad news. I mean, it happened, and in a way, it was kind of good that scientists realized this earlier and earlier. From 1965. This was in the LBJ administration. Okay. At the annual meeting of the API, American Petroleum Institute, Frank Icard, capital I-K-A-R-D, who was the president of the Petroleum Institute, mentioned a report entitled, quote, Restoring the Quality of Our Environment. And it was put out by President Lyndon Johnson's team of scientific advisors. Icard told the audience that, quote, there is still time to save the world's peoples from the catastrophic consequences of pollution. But time is running out. One of the most important predictions of the report is that carbon dioxide is being added to the Earth's atmosphere by the burning of coal, oil, and natural gas at such a rate that by the year 2000, well, we're way beyond that by the year 2000, the heat balance will be so modified as possibly to cause marked changes in the Earth's climate. He also noted that a, quote, non-polluting means of powering automobiles, buses, and trucks is likely to become a national necessity. Okay. And the SAC, which is the Science Advisory Committee, this is Lyndon Johnson's in 1965, the orange sociopathic bloat bag and his GOP MAGA head followers being anti-science, anti-education, even anti-truth, continue to support efforts to suppress high school and even college courses that deny climate science. Are you listening, Hillsdale College? Okay, I've got time, but I think I missed. Oh, yeah, okay, here it is. I did miss something. Okay. I was railing against Hillsdale College, and I skipped over this. Okay, bad news about just how evil the fossil fuel industry is. It wasn't just Exxon that knew in the 1970s how carbon dioxide would kill our planet, but Shell's or Royal Dutch Shell scientists also knew the truth about climate change even earlier in the late 60s. But they laid out two possible scenarios for the path that the oil industry could take. One was devoting more of their resources to renewable energy and the phasing out of fossil fuels. The other scenario is trying to sow doubt in the public and to play down these findings of climate change. Well, executives in these in Royal Dutch Shell chose to go the route of the tobacco industry. Well, the science isn't settled. We don't know for sure. We need oil to run our cars and buses and trucks and airplanes and boats and blah, blah, blah. That's the profits is what they decided to take the path of. Okay. Okay, yeah, there was just a little part here. Okay, it was sandwiched in between the Hayer Elementary School and Hillsdale College. All right. One of these days, I'm going to get organized. Okay, I talked about what a creep the orange sociopathic bloat bag is. Okay, I've got time here. Okay, look, on Monday, that's yesterday, April 3rd, more than 7,000 students in Nashville marched to the Tennessee state capitol to condemn GOP MAGA-head lawmakers. They didn't say MAGA-head, I'm saying it. Okay. Lawmakers who have claimed anti-LGBTQ laws will protect the state's children while at the same time refusing to take up gun control laws or gun safety laws, not taking guns away, but just making it safer and more responsible for law-abiding citizens to have guns. Okay. And this was organized by March for Our Lives, MFOL, abbreviated. That group was organized by David Hogg, one of the survivors of the Marjorie Stoneman mass shooting. Okay, also, tomorrow, Wednesday, April 5th, there is going to be a student walkout. And it's at noon, local time. I'm beseeching all of the students, high school and college for that matter, who might be listening to the Midnight Skeptic to join this walkout and just stay out. What are they going to do? Do it. And then this walkout tomorrow was organized by a group called Students Demand Action, which is a takeoff on the Moms Demand Action, which is an pro-gun safety organization of mothers, most of whom have been affected one way or another by all of these school shootings. Now, the one that's taking place Wednesday and has taken place in Nashville yesterday, Monday, I wonder what the GOP MAGA head Republicans' reaction to this. You know what they're going to say. Oh, these kids, they'll get over it. They'll come back to class. We can just ignore them. They'll run out of steam pretty soon, and we'll go back to taking our money from the gun manufacturers, the NRA, and the oil companies. On and on and on it goes. I hate to be skeptical, but I'm hopeful that they will affect some change. As long as Republicans control certain states, such as Tennessee, it's going to be an uphill battle. I've got to play my out music. Remember to pet your cats. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Okay, students who are listening to this, join the walkout tomorrow, please, and vote out all Republicans. Okay, that's kind of it for now. Hey, I'm right at 58 minutes. I won't be cut off at KPCA.